P3 Theater Company, in association with the Del Shores Foundation and Beard Collins Shores Productions, presents the world premiere of The Red Suitcase.
Why must or should the theater community of Southern California or the whole country go to The Red Suitcase?
Well, first and foremost, we need to protect theater. It was vulnerable before the pandemic, and it especially became more vulnerable after the pandemic. So I feel like that by returning to the theater, you're showing support of this amazing ancient art that we have to protect. And in that, it's not going to be a shitty piece of theater. It's going to be a wonderful night of theater. So rest assured, because sometimes, we do roll the dice, especially when we know people and they invite you and you go, oh, what do I say? Well, you were up there. I saw you. But I feel like that this is genuinely a piece of art that Jiggs has created on the page. And now all of these artists get to bring it to life in a beautiful medium, the beautiful medium of theater.
But I think it's a brilliant play. This is an amazing group of artists I am honored and thrilled to be working with. And I have done things where I would not say that. I would just say, come. But even without starting, this is going to be worth your time. And this is an incredible theater company. And what John is building with P3, the explosion that he is having this year with what he's done with Wounded, with all of the news that I know you'll be able to see and hear from him other places. I'm thrilled and selfishly excited to be a part of his explosive upward trajectory and what he's doing here in Southern California. It benefits us directly. So y'all come.
We are really, really excited about working with this theater company. They experiment. It's a great team they put together, and we're there for them. Hello, y'all. I'm Del Shores.
And I'm Emerson Collins, coming to you from the world premiere of Jiggs Burgess' The Red Suitcase, exclusively at the P3 Theater Company. If you want to learn more about our upcoming production and the Del Shores Foundation, stay tuned for this conversation.
When did you first learn about Jiggs Burgess and his great new The Red Suitcase play?
Well, I'd known Jiggs for a while and encouraged him to submit a new work because he had been in a writing class that I teach, and I immediately thought this one's special. And he was so prolific. I mean, he just would write, and he was in this tiny town in Texas. And so when we decided to launch the first competition, I encouraged all of my students, far and wide, everybody that I'd ever taught before in the South that identified as LGBT, I said, submit anything that you have not had, that has not been produced, and you cannot be produced on a professional level. And so I then heard about The Red Suitcase when it started getting buzz, and Emerson said, Jiggs has made it to the semifinals, and Kaylin, your student from Northwestern State University, and so that we met at a film festival. I mean, and it was exciting, but I, Jeff Sessions, recused myself from any kind of participation in the judging because I wanted it to be pure and good. And I had the only part of the judging that I had is I helped choose some of the judges that I loved and respected their artistry. And so I do remember the day that Emerson was leading was it the final three artistic directors who were
the final jury.
The final jury, and I literally was sitting here listening, and it's real hard for me not to participate in any discussion, and to hear them talking with such passion about all the plays and hashing out who is going to be first and who's going to be second, and you know, it was a crazy day that day when I heard them, you know, talking about Jiggs' play.
And for me, you know, early on in that, Dell said, you know, I have this writer in my class who's writing this play, and would you come to class and read it? I read some of the earliest scenes from the Red Suitcase in Dell's class, just as they write and listen to actors so they can discuss, and was just in awe of the ambition and the poetry and the range of this piece that he was assembling. I mean, it is a wide-ranging epic story with, you know, Williams-esque poetry,
Yeah.
prose, imagery in it, and I was so enamored. And then I did, you know, the way we structured the writer search for the foundation is we don't read the plays. We have other readers to do a first round, a second round. We ask artistic directors and film festival directors to be the jurors so that, you know, we can tell everyone we know to submit and we have nothing to do with the selection. But listening to that final jury discussion of the final 5 plays, and it's how sort of the universe works, because John Peterson from P3 Theater Company, we had asked him to be one of the jurors. He was in that discussion that chose Jiggs as the winner. So then when we sent the winning play out to all of our theater partners to say, hey, there's a 10 grand grant on the table, who is interested in producing the world premiere of this? John stepped up immediately and said, I read it, I want it, I love it, I want to do it. You know, so it was a quick path to the success and opportunity for the piece. And then at the Writers Festival, the big piece of it is, you know, we did it over 4 days in Dallas, and we flew in all of the winners and we did live stage readings of the play. So we read the Red Suitcase and Need and the short film with local Dallas actors. We did workshops. We brought in all of the finalists in all 3 categories that were available, 13 writers, scholarship them for the whole weekend. And so we did a stage reading of the Red Suitcase in Dallas, and I did read the lead in that, and a number of Dell's incredible actors who live in Dallas were a part of that reading and are also going to be a part of this world premiere production. We have built a giant family.
3 that night. Four cast members, and then one of Matt was in the audience. There were in that first birth of this, you know, this beautiful play. They are going to step on stage, and of course, I the way we do the festival is there's a quick rehearsal direction. Basically, you're sitting in chairs, and so I directed this quickly and fast. But then it was like after the festival, it was like, okay, John, here you go. Go put your team together. You're going to get a check from us. And then John lost the director, and he was like, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? And Emerson and I had a conversation, and I said, I think I want to direct this if they want me. And you know, I will be on strike at that point probably. So I'll have some free time on my hand. And I think the universe conspired to put every aspect of this together, and it's going to be quite magical. That's my...
You can give credit to the universe. It's to us. The whole point of this foundation was building networks and bringing artistic people together. And to me, it's just the greatest fruition of the caliber of people, and not us, like the partners that we have found, the actors that are drawn, the writers, and the spirits, you know, have met and exceeded far past, I think, our greatest expectations for what we could do with this foundation, barely in our 2nd year of real existence.
And let's not forget our amazing board members who give money every single year, and all of those who support us through financial support. It allows, and yeah, you know, the thing is when we were begging people to invest in a very sordid wedding, which always felt very uncomfortable. It just does. I mean, it's not easy to fundraise. It's not easy to get investors, but for some reason, it clicked for me when we saw these dreams. It makes me emotional. See, I was watching these writers in the audience watching their work come to life at the festival, I thought, oh my God, I can ask people for money. And I just say, you're just helping people's dreams come true. That's all you're getting out of this. But how rewarding is that? I mean, I'm so happy that we have this foundation. I'm so proud of what we're in a very short period of time, and that we're able to have been able to accomplish.
Well, also, it's easier to ask for money for other people than for yourselves. I'm the same way. I told them when we started this, I said, I'll do whatever you want. The website, all the things, the graphics, the program, the show, the whatever. I do not want to have to ask people for money. And yet I still end up standing up at these things now and asking for money because I'm proud of what we're asking for it for. But it really is. No, it's outside of ourselves. It's using our experience and our connections and our people with artistic talent and deep pockets to help people that are coming behind us doing the same thing.
So yes, delshoresfoundation.org. Go there, donate, make people's dreams come true, help.
That's perfect. So tell us a little bit about the Red Suitcase. Tell us the main character, which I know you're very familiar with, and also the main story arc. But I don't want you to spoil it either. Just tell me what you can tell us.
You want to take that, Emerson, since you're creating
yes, it is. To put it simply, it is a sort of meta outside look by a man at the 40-year journey from the stories that shaped him as a child and the stories he lived through as an adult to consider all of the pieces and threads of our families and our ancestors and the world that we inhabit that make up the sum of us. And that may sound a little, high-minded and frou-frou, if you will. But what's beautiful about it is it's snippets and scenes from a life that add up to a person. And what does it mean when you examine that? And Jiggs has crafted a beautiful exploration of how we are so many of our own choices, but we are also the result of so many choices of those who came before us and those in the world around us as we live through it. And a positive but melancholy look at what it means to be aware of all of the things that made you who you are. This gay man in a small town in Texas and his complicated relationship with his parents and the stories of his youth.
And the imagery in this play is just gorgeous. There's a lot of, there's a blend of old school theater and what we can do now. There's projections in it, and it's a tech nightmare. Let's just be honest. But in that, once that fluid feel comes together, I feel like it's like I said, it's gonna be magical. We're very lucky to have such a great team. Our lighting, our Blake MacGyver is assisting director. Thank goodness, because he understands all of the technical aspects, which I don't. So it's a bit of a dance, don't you think, Emerson? And with the ensemble coming in and out there, it's a bit of a dance.
It's very much a musical without the songs, so to speak, in the way that he threads. There are four characters that always remain the same, and then there's these three incredible featured players who drop in and out of other characters throughout the play to facilitate telling the story. So our those three actors play everything from the kindergarten teacher to the Mexican immigrant that was sort of the replacement father. There's to the little boy that was the first love. There's so many pieces of the story that Jiggs has woven together so beautifully. And it is, and they comment as a Greek chorus, sort of as a piece of Pogue's mind throughout. And so there's this wry charm, this sort of wink in the eye as Pogue tells the stories, and then a sort of shocking vulnerability that arrives with the consideration of the impact of what it means to look back at those stories. So it's very smartly paced as we sort of whip through the scenes of his life.
Back to the reading for 1 second. After that reading was done, why did you, Emerson, really wanted that role? And when you had the opportunity to direct it, why did you two have to be more involved with this play production? Why is it such a unique play that you said, I got to be part of the X factor for this play?
Well, for me, there were two factors involved. I knew that I could work and direct an amazing group of actors, and that always thrills me when I get to connect. And also, I love and adore Jiggs and this play and John and this theater company. And I thought, you know, quite frankly, I want to protect this play. I want it to have, you know, not to sound egotistical on any level, but I felt like we could, because this is what we do. Emerson and I, we produce, we write, we put things together, and then we come together as artists. And I felt like we have something to give to this besides just some money from the foundation. And you know, I know that Emerson's not going to toot his own horn as much as I will, but Emerson has worked with me so many times now as an actor. I put all the producing aside, put all the writing, put all that aside, but as an actor, there is a command of that stage. And one thing that Emerson did so brilliantly in Southern Baptist Sissies, and there's a little bit of a kindred to this play in that he plays age from one decade to another, and it's a range of about 30 years, and it's staggering work. And so, you know, I don't think that when Jiggs probably put pen to paper or pencil to paper, whatever, that he saw Emerson Collins in his head. But I many times say to my actors, I go, sometimes you have to show us what we need rather than what we think we want. And that's what in the casting of Emerson as Pogue did for this play.
And for me, it's not even altruistic. You know, it's from that first reading, this role is so fascinating and it's so complicated. And I, you know, from my first meeting with Jiggs, sort of fell in love with this like irascible giant teddy bear of a brilliant man, and watching his creative process and the way that he works, and was thrilled to do the reading. And but it really, at that point, I was like, great, and now the production's going to happen, and, you know, go with God. I was thrilled that they wanted me to do that first reading. And then when Jiggs said, you know, you would be my choice, I was thrilled and honored. And it's exciting because it is massive, you know, as an actor, the range of the role, the things that it asks, and also I'm in love with so many of these cast members. It was the easiest yes, and I, with gratitude, accepted the trust that they have put in my hands to tell the story. And at this point in my stage career, you know, I want to do things that scare me, that the range of what this calls for. This isn't like, I've done things before where I could go out tomorrow and be like, great, I can do it tomorrow. I'm ready. Like, sure, just memorize the lines, like, tell me where to stand, and off we go. And what we're going to build in this together is going to take some work. And that's really, there's nothing more exciting than to be the first person to tell a story. You know, no one's ever done this. What we build here together will be the first version of this piece that everyone that comes after it, you know, knows happened. And that's one of the most special things you can do as a theater artist.
Do you want to talk about the rest of your cast members or who you're directing?
Yeah, I would love to. I've worked with all of these actors before, except for Tiago Santos. He came through the traditional casting process, came in and auditioned and earned the role, and he's wonderful. Matt Hayes, I talked to about earlier. This foundation would not exist without Matt. He's a beautiful actor and has done. He does what we do with this foundation. He creates his own opportunity. Emerson and I had the pleasure of directing his short film Shafted earlier in the year. That's now in film festivals, and he just starred in his first movie. So we're really excited to work with him. First time I get to work with him on stage. Pam Trouter, who is just so funny and brilliant and lovely, and I worked with her in The Trials and Tribulations of a Trailer Trash Housewife. She understudied for me and then stepped into the role that Octavia Spencer created for many productions. But she also understudied Debbie Holiday, the blues singer, crazy singer, was in the national company of The Color Purple. And and she is gonna tear up these roles. And then Kristen McCullough started as a student of mine in Dallas. The last three I will talk about, all started as students with me in Dallas. Charlotte White, Bruce Molina, and Kristen McCullough. Kristen McCullough then went to, when I was developing my play Yellow, I threw a scene at Kristen in a workshop, and she was so good that I could never find anybody that was that good. So we literally figured a way to fly her in and out of LA while she did Yellow, and created the role of Kate there. We also directed her at Uptown Players and that. And then Bruce Molina starred with Emerson and A Very Sordid Wedding on stage at Uptown Players, but started it as a student. And the first thing we thought when we read this was Bruce Molina would be so perfect for Pogue's dad, Bud. And I did not think that he would even consider coming out. And I'm back in Dallas teaching a workshop, and I said, if you were in LA, I'd catch you. And he said, well, why didn't you ask? And I said, okay, I'm asking right now. And he said, I'll do it. And so last night I talked to him. He was just passing El Paso. So he's on his way. And then yesterday I picked up the amazing Charlotte White at the airport, who is in her 70s and playing Grandmother Evans, and we just love her so much in this role. She is some of the true heart of this play. And, when you heard, again, like when I heard Kristen read that role in Yellow, and also as April, but when you hear Charlotte White read Grandmother Evans, you go, can't do better than that. Right?
And to add to, one of the things I've always most admired about Del from my very first working with him is that the only rule is no assholes. What we do is hard at every level, at every turn, and there are talented people everywhere. There are more talented people than there are opportunities to be a professional, I have said many times recently. And the collection of people that he gathers around him who make this giant village of artists. Because my experience with all of these people, I met Pam Trotter working backstage at the Zephyr Theater when she would go on in The Trials and Tribulations of a Trailer Trash Housewife. I met Matt Hayes because of Del. I met Bruce Molina at the A Very Sordid Wedding auditions because he had taken Del's workshops. And let me talk about Charlotte for a moment, because we did the stage reading in Dallas. I did read the lead of this play. All of us are equal in building the thing, but it is the heaviest lifting. And my mother's first comment after the reading was, "Who was that woman who played the grandmother? I just loved her. I want to meet her."
And so you were fine. You were fine. You were
good enough. No, I'm kidding. But I walked her over to meet Charlotte because she enjoyed what she did so much. And so it really is this wonderful family because you can only create, in that space, what it takes to be vulnerable together, to try things, to find the right things, to enjoy opening yourself up to what the other actors, the other designers, all of the team has to offer as you build a thing. You can get through it with assholes, but you can really create joy together if everybody is building in the same way. And that is absolutely who we've assembled. I mean, Blake and I were talking this morning about just being giddy that the week is finally here. We're starting tomorrow. It's actually here to jump and play.
Perfect.
I just have to pace myself because those rehearsals start at 6:30 and end at 10:30. And I'm usually in bed by then. Not 6:30. Not 6:30.
I have lived my whole life on a theater person schedule, like regardless of whether I'm doing a theater or not. And Del is the morningest of persons.
Like my list is already done. I just have one more thing on it today.
I check the emails at like 9:30, 9:45 to see what he's been doing in the morning. Before I get started.
And I wake up to Emerson. Like this morning, I said, I can't find this email. I mean, did you send an email or they confirmed? He goes, I sent it. I go, well, there were a lot. There were a lot waiting this morning when I woke up.
I finished mine in the evening, so he has a load to start in the morning, and then I have his in the mid-late morning, and then we meet in the afternoon to take care of the joint things.
That's perfect. Very important question. What do you want the audience to get out of the Red Suitcase?
entertainment. I would like the audience to get entertained, and I always feel like that if you can make them laugh, if you can make them feel, and if you can make them think a little bit, then mission accomplished. And there's a lot in this play. You know, it's based on a lot of damage. So I feel like that there's a relatability that a lot of our audience will find. No, I don't mean just if you're gay. I mean, you know, family is universal.
And I've always felt like theater can do one of three things or all of three things. You know, at its very least, it can entertain. It can be a respite from the world. I think that is just as important and just as valuable. If you're going to see Mamma Mia, so you can sing the mega mix at the end and have a good night of celebratory community, that is just as important. It can edify, it can expand on things you're already aware of. And then to me, though, at its most churchy, back to our original discussion, it can make you consider something you've never considered before, or a point of view you've never considered before. You can walk away thinking about something in a new way. And I think this will be a little bit of all. You know, it's funnier than expected. There's a charm to it. There's a deep vulnerability. But I think there's a universal in the specificity of what Jiggs has created that is really looking at yourself and considering what of you is of the choices you made, and what of you is because of the choices other people around you made. You know, as we go through life, sometimes we can change those things. Sometimes we just have to accept them. I've been talking a lot in my age with my friends about the things about us that are no longer changeable. You know, that we've developed as far as we can, and the last bit, if you don't like it, you have to accept it if you want to be that person's friend. And I think that's a little bit of this play too, that some of us is the result of the world we started in. And some of it is the result of the choices we made. And sometimes it's not about changing everything. It's just knowing the difference between those two. And I think some of the discussion that you can walk away from this is a little bit about that, and accepting that and knowing that.
What do you think will surprise the audience about Red Suitcase?
I mean, I don't think there's any way in a simple description to share the weaving of the things that we can do today with technology and the earnest connection of the scenes of this play. I do think it's an experience that cannot be easily captured in a log line or a synopsis. And I think that not surprise like, whoa, but just surprise in that, like, the wideness of this story that Jiggs is telling.
I also think that it's, without giving too much away, there's a lot of suitcases, and they become very important pieces of the staging. So I think that'll be exciting to see, and the creation that happens right on stage. A lot of everything is just created right there in front of you, which I'm excited about.
And to add, what I specifically love about this piece is that it is exclusively theatrical. You know, a lot of modern theater could easily, you can pick the story up and lay it in a movie. You know, there's an easy translation and nothing wrong with contemporary like drama and comedy in that world. But this piece and the elements that Jiggs is bringing together are exclusive to the theatrical experience. You could not deconstruct this and easily tell it in the same way in another medium. And I love that. I love what is special about theater. I love the things you can do only in a theater. And that's great about this too.
Very important question. Why must or should, you can decide which word, why must or should the theater community of Southern California or the whole country go to the Red Suitcase?
Well, first and foremost, we need to protect theater. It was vulnerable before the pandemic, and it especially became more vulnerable after the pandemic. So I feel like that by returning to the theater, you're showing support of this amazing ancient art that we have to protect. And in that, it's not going to be a shitty piece of theater. It's going to be a wonderful night of theater. So rest assured, because sometimes, we do roll the dice, especially when we know people and they invite you and you go, oh, what do I say? Well, you were up there. I saw you. But I feel like that this is genuinely a piece of art that Jiggs has created on the page. And now all of these artists get to bring it to life in a beautiful medium, the beautiful medium of theater.
And I will go dramatically further and say that you should see this because it's going to be fantastic. But I think it's a brilliant play. This is an amazing group of artists I am honored and thrilled to be working with. And I have done things where I would not say that. I would just say, come. But even without starting, this is going to be worth your time. And this is an incredible theater company, and what John is building with P3, the explosion that he is having this year with what he's done with Wounded, with all of the news that I know you'll be able to see and hear from him other places. I'm thrilled and selfishly excited to be a part of his explosive upward trajectory and what he's doing here in Southern California. It benefits us directly. So y'all come.
We are really, really excited about working with this theater company. They experiment. It's a great team they put together, and we're there for them.
The add on what you were talking about, P3, why should more people in the theater community should get involved with theaters like P3 Company?
I'll go. Here's, because we have partners with theaters all over the country. We're up over 30 partners of the foundation. But the theater in your community is a central point of your community, whether it is a community theater or a regional theater. And it's great when you go see the big tour at the big giant theater in town, but those people don't really need your money and they don't have a real impact in your community. What John is doing, what your local theater communities are doing, is creating a place for your local artists to work. They are telling stories that they think are specific and interesting to your community. And if you want them to keep existing, you need to show up. And don't just buy one ticket, buy season tickets. If you're one of those people with more than a few dollars in your pocket, become a sponsor. It doesn't take much to make the art that we make happen, because we'll do a play with $3 and a roll of duct tape.
Yeah.
And what John is achieving and what he is building. And if you are here in Southern California, think about that. Think about it, what it means for you to not just be a patron, but to be a subscriber or to be a supporter. You become integrally involved in creating the art that's happening on the stage in your community. And we'll be nicer about it than he will, because they have to tap dance and say nice things. They need it. What he does is hard every day. The man does not pay himself what he should pay himself. We make everything happen because we love it. And the best thing you can do is volunteer your time or give direct donations to support their continued existence for your own enjoyment.
And as producers, or we're not thankfully not producing this one, but as former producers, we know the importance of word of mouth. So come early, come that first week, and get on the phone and say, go see this play. There's nothing. I mean, you can advertise, you can do whatever, but there is nothing more powerful than your testimony going back to the church.
And specifically that, because obviously as smaller organizations, we cannot crack the marketing level of major institutions. Theater reviewers are gone, theater interviewers are gone. It's why we're so grateful you do this. It is so hard to get the word out. The strongest thing you can do is, one, come opening weekend, and then two, on Monday morning, post the flyer of the show and the link to buy tickets and tell people why they should go see it. Your comment to your 1,000 Facebook friends is more impactful than $10,000 we could spend in the LA Times these days on an ad. You really can turn the trajectory of an arts organization by being a public supporter in your sphere of influence.
I'll tell you what I did recently, and it was so wonderful to be able to do it, is I went to see Wounded, also by Jiggs Burgess, that was in the Fringe. It so affected me to the degree that I said, okay, I'm going to put a group together. So there was a group of us that went, we took over a part of the theater, then we went to El Coyote afterwards and talked about the play with the actors. And it was truly a beautiful experience when you get to share something like that. So anyway, we'll get off our soapboxes. I'm Del Shores, and I am so excited to direct for P3 Theater Company the world premiere of Jiggs Burgess' amazing play, The Red Suitcase.
I'm Emerson Collins, and I'm playing Pogue, the lead in the world premiere of Jiggs Burgess' The Red Suitcase with the P3 Theater Company. Previews August 10th and 11th, opening August 12th for an exclusive limited 4-week run. So run, don't walk, to get your tickets today at p3theater.biz. That's B-I-Z.